Hi there, it's Ray with Ray's Turquoise Turtle. I'm going to do another feather. I'm going to do this one a little different. I'm going to use these imitation gold leaf flakes. This one says copper. So I'm going to use gloves to do this part because I don't want the flakes sticking all over my hands. But I'm going to try and pull them into layers as best I can and just stick them directly to the mold. I don't want to touch with my hands because not only do I not want them leafing my fingers, but I don't want to leave any oils from my hands that would repel the epoxy. So this part can be a little tedious. Do as much or as little flakes as you want. You do want the color to show through in the cracks of the flake, if that makes sense. So you do want some negative space. And I'm not going to do the entire feather. I'm just going to do like the vein down the center. So bear with me. Make sure it's rubbed down really well. It's okay to pull on it a little bit. It'll just separate it out some. And these are a little harder to separate than if you used like leafing from a booklet. But I'm going to open it up the mold a little bit and put some pieces inside. I have already mixed up 4 ounces of resin. This mold takes about 3.7. The measurement that Amazon said it was is actually pretty spot on, remarkably. Sometimes I think I have one piece and I end up actually having 2. I'm not going to worry if I get a little bit stuck where I don't want it, just because this is a little bit more difficult. And once it's on there, it's kind of on there for now. So I'm not mixing the leaf into the resin because I'm using a black background for this and just black, so you wouldn't see the leafing at all with the black. If you're going to do this method on a tray where you work, where the bottom side goes up, you would have to do your black layer, then you're leafing onto the black, and then a clear coat on top of that. And I will do one of those soon. I do want to try and get a little bit up towards the front. And then maybe if there's any kind of breeze in your room, this flakes will fly all over. So I think that'll be enough. Everywhere you can see the flakes through the mold is where the flakes should show through the black. So I'm going to close this up. These were giant jars I got on Amazon, 10 grams each. There's a silver and a gold also. I will put the link to these down below. I will put the link to the mold below. And I will get a link to these mixing cups down below in the description box. So I'm going to use some black mica. This is just out of one of those sets from Amazon. I will get a link to the set down in the description as well. And you don't need a ton, but this is 4 ounces, so I'm going to give it a pretty healthy scoop. I want to use some mica and not just a dye because I want a tiny bit of shimmer in the black. And I'm also going to use my pour bottle of Alumilite black opaque dye, which is leaking. So hopefully I can get some out of here. I need to get a new one ordered. I can't figure out. It's got a puncture in the side of the dispenser tip. So it's a bit of a problem. Okay. It's the main reason I'm wearing gloves, because it makes me get grody. And normally I would tell you to always put your mica in the bottom of your cup first, but because I was using the cup I mixed in directly, I put it on top. The micas, when you start mixing them, tend to poof up into the air, and you don't really want to be breathing all that in if you can avoid it. So typically I would put the mica in the bottom of a smaller cup and transfer over. So that is pretty well mixed, and because this is just a one color pour, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna go kind of slow and around in a circle so it has time to work its way down in. Filling this style of mold is a little bit different than filling a completely open top mold. But with the black, you can really see where it's going. There's also no way of actually getting the bubbles, and you can see it's pushing air out as it fills those voids. But you can kind of squeeze the sides and manipulate it a little bit and tap it, which can help with any of those bubbles. I can see it's reaching the tiny end here and filling in. So and again, I know how much this mold takes, so I know it should take just about this entire cup. It'll be a little short because it had about 0.3 ounces extra to begin with, plus whatever space I displaced with the mixative. So I can see there's a bubble here and here. Bubbles are voids. Either way, I don't want it. So I will make sure I am filled to the top or just slightly over the top to give it a nice base. This mold does actually have a pretty decent base that it sits on, which is great. And it's pretty sturdy in this phase. So I'm in danger of rolling over this edge because I did get a little over that edge, but like I said, just a tiny little bit left. I am going to spritz the top of this with some alcohol and then let it sit to cure. So, excuse me. Hopefully you can see some of those bubbles popping on top. When you use a mold like this, you don't want to apply any heat, especially these thinner ones, You don't want your resin to fuse to the mold and then wreck your mold, wreck your project. So I do recommend using the alcohol spritz method to get those surface bubbles off. But that is it. I will come back in tomorrow and we will unmold this and see what we have. Okay, I'm ready to unmold this. I do have a little bubble on the back, but not a big deal. Hopefully it'll come out clean. There are some bubbles in here, which I kind of expected. But the front did exactly what I wanted it to do. And these are fine. They're there. They're permanent. So that is it. Looks beautiful. And I am quite pleased with that. There's another feather down.